Speaker, author, executive coach, business strategist, and the founder of High Jump Leadership. Make some noise for Hollie!
Good morning out there. 5 feet, 11 inches. That's the height of the bar, roughly 30 to 40 feet down a runway. It's a spring, gorgeous day. I am at a track and field meet, and I am a high jumper. I'm actually a championship high jumper, looking at a 5 feet, 11 inch bar. Now, I didn't always know I wanted to be a high jumper. Like, where does that come from? Don't you wake up one morning, oh, I'm just gonna go be a high jumper. But my freshman year of high school, I was pretty athletic. I played basketball, played volleyball, and I didn't have anything to do in spring, so I go out for track, and the coach comes up to me at the end of the day. His name is Joe, Coach Joe, and he's like, hey, I'd like you to stay after practice a little bit. I want you to try something new. I'm like, sure. Had no idea what it was. I just said yes. Mom comes to pick me up to take me home, and I'm like, hey, we're going up here. We go into the gym, the basketball gym actually, and he had a setup there. He had a landing pad, he had 2 stands and this bar across. I'm like, oh, that's what he wants me to do. He wants me to jump over this bar. And he had it only sat about here. It didn't look very intimidating. I'm like, I can do that. I was pretty athletic at the time. And he starts to teach me how the approach should work, which is about the Fosbury flop. It's named after an actual championship high jumper, but the last name of Fosbury. It's a J step. So you have the steps where you approach, you curve, you plant, you go over, and you go over backwards. And you're curving like a wave, like at the beach, you know how a wave curves for surfers? That's what you're doing over the high jump bar. So I got this. And I start, and I run down, and I run down, and I run down. I plant my foot, bam, landed on that bar. And I did it again and again and again, and I kept landing on this bar. Now, I'm like, okay, here's the thing to know. That bar was triangular, and it was metal. So every time I'm landing on this bar, it's cutting into my back. I'm not very much having a lot of fun right now. So I actually am saying, hey, I'm pretty good. I think I can go home and have dinner, watch some TV with Mom. Can we go? And I look at her over here. She's got a face. She's like excruciatingly painful look on her face while I'm doing this, but she doesn't interfere. And here's the first memory I have of actually experiencing leadership. The coach said, listen, I know you want to go home and I know this hurts, but I'm not going to let you go. He's like, I want you to know this in yourself. You have the strength, you have the height, you have the build, you have the competitive spirit, you have the ability to do this. And I see something in you that I want you to see in yourself. And I'm not going to let you leave today until you hit this bar and clear this bar. Because if you don't do it today, you'll never do it. You'll not believe in yourself. What a gift in leadership to believe and see talent, see ability, see capability that somebody doesn't even see in themselves. I had no idea what a high jump was before that day. So here we go. Go a couple more times, I'm still landing on it. But then there was that beautiful, beautiful moment where I clear the bar, I land on the mat, and it felt good, and it was like, wow, this is what this feels like. That's the first ability of me believing in myself as a high jumper. Well, let's fast forward a couple of years. I'm looking at that 5 feet, 11 inches. That's pretty tall, okay? That's pretty aggressive. How am I going to clear this bar? Now, it's important to know that just a few minutes ago, I just hit 5 feet 10. That was already a personal best. So the little girl in me is already all excited, going, yay, I did it, I did it, I did it. Fantastic. I'd already been high-fiving. And I could have stayed back in that energy of that, but then I'm not present. I'm not in that moment to be focused on what I have to do next. The other way my mind could have gone is, oh my gosh, 5 feet, 11 inches. I've never done that. I just did this. How am I going to do that? You get a little worried. You get a little overwhelmed. So then you're over here about something that hasn't even happened yet. You're sort of taking your energy away from what you just need to do right now and trusting in yourself, believing in yourself. So we take this moment, and how do you get present? Let me just focus right here. Breathe a little bit. Breathe a little bit. Let the people over here around the track and field meet, they kind of dissolve into the background. They don't exist. This moment back here doesn't exist. This moment over here doesn't exist. I start focusing and manifesting myself, just looking at the approach in my mind. Steps. What do I know? What do I trust? What I already know within myself. What I already know within myself. What I already know within myself. Step. Bounce. Bam. And you hit the mark. That is a freaking awesome feeling. But the thing was, I wasn't even in my head. I was in my soul. I was in this part of me where you just absolutely know and trust what you can do in a moment. How amazing and powerful is that? That's our point of purest power in anything that we do in life, whether it's business, whether it's personal. But how do I know if I'm in my past, my present, or my future? That's the journey of life, I think. That's at least what I got into. I didn't grow up knowing about, oh, there's my past, this is my present, this is my future. What happens is you have the crash, and we've had people up here talking about the crash or the traumas or the challenges that we have in life. That's when we start to learn, and then we start to seek out mentors. What if I had stayed in this mental piece back here where I was already really happy, which is a form of reaction. Other reactions are fear, trauma, sadness. That's a reaction. Worry and overwhelm, that's a reaction. That's our ego pulling us out of our present position. And then our body starts to know we're feeling off kilter. We feel that in our body. But when we feel and clear that, then we can show up and be present. So the journey of life is how to recognize that emotion and how to use it. So I have a formula that I like to take people through. It's called the REAL formula. R is to recognize that I'm in an emotion. Now, I don't know about you, but I grew up in a household where I used to cry at commercials that had dogs and things like that. And I was a pretty good softie when I'd see a cute little movie. Oh, that's so awesome. I actually was in a movie theater once, and we're watching Ice Castles. I don't know if anybody remembers Robbie Benson back at Ice Castles, if you're of that age group. And here I am, I'm like, tears are rolling down my eyes, and my girlfriends are, Hollie, don't cry, I'm already am. And it echoes through the theater. It's very embarrassing. But I was that type of kid growing up. And my father used to say to me, oh, it's too far from your heart to kill you. It's like squashing that emotion. Now, he's just trying to pull me out of it, right? But still squashing that emotion. And so I started not to feel. And how many of us, we were taught things like, girls don't show up angry, boys don't have emotion. Our society teaches us to squander that emotion. But emotion has so much value if we embrace it and learn how to use it. That's emotional intelligence, conscious intelligence. What can that mean in terms of life and how we get there? Let's think about an example in business. So I've got about 25 years of experience working in the pharmaceutical industry and a couple of other industries where I got to work with some amazing, amazing leaders. In Europe as well as in this country. So there's different cultures and different styles that you get to observe and see and collaborate with. And the most awesome thing was how you see the awesome, awesome people that you just go to bat for. Does everybody work for somebody like that? You know that person, you're like, they've got my back. I really enjoy being here. I'm in the flow. I'm seen, I'm heard. I trust them. And then how many of us have actually worked for that person that is in a title of leadership, but that we don't feel that they're a very good leader? Let's say that happens a lot, right? You know, that's I'm paying you a paycheck, just get it done. I don't care. You don't need to have a life. You don't need to see your wife. All those good things, right? And I'm working with a major pharmaceutical company who has a $100 million security project that they're implementing. And they have about 40 teams that they've put around this project. The VP woman that was leading that particular initiative hadn't taken the time to set up a clear strategy and a roadmap for those teams to interact along the way. And what started to happen by not having that roadmap so people had the safety and the security and the clarity of where they needed to go every day, they were just trying to get what they thought was done. They'd have meetings, they'd be told, go do this, but they didn't know the bars. They didn't know the start point, the end point. They didn't know when they needed to do a handoff to another team. They didn't know when they needed to talk to another person. They tried, and they were running like the hamster in the hamster wheel. But what was happening at a practical level is things were late and budgets were overrunning. So $100 million gets a lot of visibility from board of directors. So she's feeling a little bit of stress as well. But instead of being responsible in terms of, I didn't set this up right, and trying to help people find and navigate the path forward, she chose a fear and division tactic. That was her style. A lot of people lived in fear working for her because they didn't feel they had job security. They would work the 12, 16, 20-hour days it took, but they never felt confident in what they were doing. And I was sitting in a meeting where she had all of her executive directors. I had just worked to get her on a new path. What they had brought me in was to kind of get some of that organization in place. We'd been building the charters, setting the objectives, the deliverables, the clarity, giving them the timelines and the path to follow through. We had just gotten an agreement with her. We come into this meeting, it's just a couple days later. She pulls everything forward by 2 weeks and says, I don't care, just get it done. I'm really tired of you guys not doing what I told you to do. One brave soul stuck up her hand and tried to say, well, you said this. Oh, she got smacked down hard. Not another person said anything in that meeting. This is real. This is how we show up for people. And our energy speaks. The way we intentionally choose to show up for people speaks. And it's all tied to those belief systems. What we believe is how we project to others. So are we in our past, or are we in our future? Or are we actually present, where we can make good decisions and show up powerfully for people? Now, I also got to work with this amazing gentleman by the name of Jean-Francois Lafrie. He was the president and CEO of Ventus Canada. This is another style of leadership and somebody I actually really admired. He had two VPs. They were fighting over who owned the physician relationship. The pharmaceutical, anybody here ever worked in the pharma or medical devices industry? The industry is driven by who owns that physician relationship, because if you think about it, the prescription is the power of the physician, and that drives all of your revenue. He had the head of medical affairs, the head of marketing. They were fighting over who owned this relationship. And the president really wasn't wanting to lose either of these gentlemen, but they were having a lot of infighting. So he pulls our organization in to say, hey, I want to build a path that allows both of these people to have a win-win solution and leave their ego and integrity intact, but we have a path forward for the organization. So we proceeded to put a plan together, which got the team to collaborate, got them to come together. And he literally, the president didn't come in and like, you have to do this. He stepped back and created a container to allow people to have the energy to find the solution themselves. What a great example of leadership, because he took his ego out of the game and he was trying to serve the organization and the people that he wanted to retain on his staff. What a gift. But we're all human, right? That's what we have emotions, we have reactions, that all exist. The opportunity is how to command that. So let's go back to my formula, the REAL formula, REAL. How to be real for other people and yourself. Real, the first step is to recognize that I'm in an emotion. We talked about that. Do I feel anger? Do I feel loss? What feeling am I really feeling? It takes a little bit of time sometimes to understand that. Step number 2, E, evaluate the source of that reaction. So where does it come from? That can take a little work. Sometimes it's not obvious, or sometimes it's something that we haven't wanted to look at because it happened when we were really young and it was really painful. We've heard a couple of examples of that today. Now, I have a wonderful, wonderful family. And when I was 4 years old, I can map back a lot of my defense structures to something that happened at that point in life. We had lived in West Virginia up until age 3. My grandmother was in West Virginia. She was my love, my unconditional love, warm, happy space. She gave me good food, made me feel all happy. And then my parents moved us to Greensboro, North Carolina. And my mom went to work, as people do. She came home one day, and she was in a bad mood. You could tell she'd had a bad day, but she was looking for something. Let's say it was a coffee cup. I can't even tell you what it was anymore because I just remember that what happened. But she's like, Holly, what did you do with my coffee cup? I'm like, well, I didn't do anything with your coffee cup. What are you talking about? Well, I know you did. Where is my coffee cup? So we go through this routine a couple times, and I'm being honest. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know where it is. And she's just like, I don't believe you. Where is my coffee cup? She takes me upstairs, pulls me in a room, brings out a belt, and whips my back, breaks the skin on my back. And it's a little painful. And I'm 4 years old. I didn't do anything wrong, didn't understand what was happening. This place where I should feel safe and secure and happy and loved wasn't feeling any of those things in that moment. And in fact, I really developed a flight or fight spot where I really just wanted to leave. But it was scarier out there because I didn't know how to survive outside at age 4, and I didn't have the tools to understand that my mother just had a really bad day. So this creates imprints within our cellular structure at a subconscious level, and we don't even know it along the way until we start addressing it consciously. Okay, that happened. It happened. But if I don't know that it happened, I don't know it's running my game. So when I have a bad day or I get yelled at a little something and I flip out, it's mapping back to that and it's a reaction. But when I get more command over myself, I get to move through that quicker. So it's about recognizing, oh, I'm feeling this emotion of anger or what have you, to, okay, this is what it maps back to, and that really doesn't exist anymore because it's in the past. I can't do anything about it. It's in the past. Let's come back to the present. Let's accept. A is accept, R-E-A. Let's accept what happened, give a little love to my mother, give a little love to the little girl who was 4 years old who didn't know how to manage that, and then let it go. Then we get to make conscious choice about how we want to show up and lead others. What kind of life and emotion and spirit do we want to give to others so that they're feeling loved, safe, happy, secure, and they're enjoying their life. They're accomplishing things they didn't even know what was possible. They're hitting a 5 feet, 11-inch bar that they didn't even know they had the ability to do. That is amazing, and that's what we're here to do. That's what I love helping people through with Be the Leader You Could Follow. That's the book that I'm writing. It's not quite out, but it's almost out. And it's what I work with people on in terms of high jump leadership, how to set the bar, the steps to achieve the bar, how to up-level the bar, and I invite you all to be the leader you would follow.